Item number one, Cam Newton is on injured reserve, and for all intents and purposes, his season is over. Hypothetically, he could come back, needs 8 weeks. That is, A, if he's healthy, and B, the Panthers make it deep into the postseason. But for now, act as if his season is done. He has not played since week 2. Kyle Allen is the Panthers quarterback for the foreseeable future, and that future may extend beyond this year. That is the question. Tom Pelissero, I look down here to look at Cam's cap number for next year. This year it's 23. Next year, potentially, it is 21, but that is very much a deal they could get out of in the offseason. How do you read the tea leaves when you hear this Cam Newton news today?
Well, there certainly has always been a decision looming about the future here with Cam Newton. Just like any other time you have a franchise quarterback going into the final year of their deal, you are going to evaluate that, decide whether or not you're going to do an extension early or whether you are going to examine your options. Now, remember, we're a few years removed here from Cam Newton winning the NFL MVP. He was playing at a really high level the first half of last season, then began dealing with the shoulder injury, was not the same. They shut him down, comes back this season, injures the foot in the preseason, tries to play through it for a couple of weeks, and then, of course, ends up undergoing the therapy and the rehab that ends up ending his season with Kyle Allen taking over. Now, my understanding is the door is open here for Cam to return if they were to make it into the playoffs, to be in wild card week. That's when 8 weeks would fall. They could activate him at this time. But the Panthers all along here have wanted to take the pressure off Cam Newton. They have never put a timetable on it internally. Their message to Kyle Allen has always been, this is your team. Go out there and win us some games. Well, Kyle Allen is 5-1 at this point. Ron Rivera quite clearly has become frustrated with answering the weekly questions, if not daily questions, about when Cam is going to be back. That's simply not been top of mind within the building. They're just trying to figure out how they're going to win games. They've done a pretty good job of that since Newton went down. But placing him on IR now, knowing that it already was going to be multiple weeks, a month or more till Cam Newton even plausibly could get back on the field, this again takes the pressure off him about trying to come back this season. They're going to let the foot completely heal, get him back to 100%, which was always the plan. He is not eligible to play again in the regular season, and we'll see if they get to the playoffs, which would also, by the way, mean that Kyle Allen has played pretty well, whether potentially there might be an opportunity to bring him back to the roster this season.
Tom, wonder if you've heard any second guessing out of Carolina about whether or not that preseason foot ankle injury there in the Patriots game, that maybe they should have kept him off the field in September, given him more time then.
Well, Cam Newton said himself in one of the videos that he's released online that he tried to push his way through that was his mentality, was to try to play his way through that injury. It's the same thing, frankly, that he did last season when he had the issue with his throwing shoulder. I was at least one of those games where Cam clearly did not look like the same quarterback that we've seen in the past. He just got to a point where he's done putting himself out there at less than 100%, trying to gut his way through that. And frankly, it was doing no good to the Panthers either, because you remember that last game that Cam played, he was wildly inaccurate. He was not throwing the football well, was not as mobile as he had been in the past. In other words, that's all a long way of saying other people can second guess how the Panthers approach this. But remember, Cam also had a choice early in the season. He chose to put himself out there thinking he could play through the injury before realizing if he was not even close to 100%, it simply didn't make sense for him or for the team to have him out there at a time where he just was not going to be able to play up to the level we've seen from Cam Newton in the past.
We were standing there on the sideline. It was a TNF game, week 2 in Carolina, and it came down to the final play of the game in the red zone, and they ran that Panther special, a Philly special thing, if you will, and Christian McCaffrey got stopped short of the goal line, and that was it for Cam Newton. Might be it in Carolina. Certainly a story to keep an eye on as we move towards the offseason. It's only Week 10. Thank you, Tom Pelissero. More from Tom on that quarterback story, on the quarterback story in Jacksonville as well as we continue.